Hey, good morning. It's just about morning here. Saturday on the Easter weekend, and I'm home alone. So, yesterday, Daryl was off Good Friday. Good Friday here is like the main Easter day, I suppose you'd call it. Everything is shut, all the shops, etc., are closed, shuttered. That's it. And on Easter Sunday, I think that's the equivalent in the UK, if I remember rightly. On Easter Sunday, everything's closed. But here, it's all open as normal, which is really odd because Easter Day is normal, Good Friday isn't. In fact, when we went out yesterday, we had to have something to eat in Scarborough Beach, and which is quite funny. I'm going off the point, but a friend messaged me to say he finds it quite amusing that places like Australia and the USA is exactly the same. They use English place names, a different context, but they use English place names, and it's quite apt really because we have a Scarborough Beach here. We also have a Brighton Beach, and we also have Bayswater as well, which is odd because that's the place where me and Daryl first stayed when we got together in our relationship back in 1995. So yesterday I had something to eat in a restaurant and had a sort of walk around the beach and stuff. The weather was pretty, to be honest with you, pretty grey. It was still about 22, 23, but it's freezing. I've literally acclimatised, and anything below 24, I'm cold. I'm really cold. But tried to get a drink in a pub afterwards. Could I? How? What is going on in Australia? You cannot get a drink without food. I don't want food. I've just eaten, but I can't get a drink. It's bizarre. Don't ask. So I didn't know it was a thing. I did actually Google it when I got back, and I found out it was actually a thing. You can't get a drink without food on Easter Friday. What the hell? Nutty. Madness. Anyway, I was really peed off, to be honest with you, and we ended up just coming home, so which is fine. I had a couple of drinks and that was it. But I shouldn't be drinking too much anyway because of various other things. Anyway, Bayswater, 1995, the place me and Daryl really got together, and that's where our relationship began. And that's where I want to begin my series of vlogs about our relationship, our 30 years together. So on the 22nd of September, it will be 30 years together. Met in 1995. Well, we met a little bit before that, but the relationship began in 1995. And what a 30 years it's been. So it's also our 10th marriage anniversary, wedding anniversary, because we got married on the same day in 2015 in Southampton. So yes, 30 years have, and I know it's a cliche, but 30 years have really flown by. I'm sat here today and I've been sorting out paperwork, which I invariably do on days like this, and I've come across some old paperwork related to our relationship. Now, that's going to be the topic of my blog today. It's paperwork, literally. It sounds really mundane, but for us, it's not. My paperwork, certainly in connection with me and Daryl, is scattered all over the world. So, majority of it at the moment is in my father's garage. And it's kind of, it pulls at the heartstrings a bit because I don't have access to certain memories and documents that I would love to have with me here, like the wedding book that was signed by everyone who came. I would love to have that with me, but it's in storage at my father's because we couldn't actually bring it across at the time. There's a lot of stuff there that needs to come over eventually, but at the moment, it's safe. I know where it is, and it's okay. We do have a little bit of stuff here because in the past, in the days before digitisation, we used to have to drag reams and reams of paperwork across borders all the time. I remember I had this big leather flight case. It was huge, and that was hand luggage, and it must have weighed about 25-30 kilos, full to the brim of paperwork, including things like old passports and bank statements and everything that we had to have, receipts to prove that me and Daryl were in a relationship. And even today, we still have to carry that information around with us, albeit in a very different guise. So today, all of that information, or the majority of it, is all digitized. It's all on a hard drive. I can look at the hard drive. I can look back at those memories. It's not as lovely as having a tangible touch and feel of old cards, and yeah, it's not the same. It's really not the same. But eventually, hopefully, we will be able to get all those documents over here. But until then, I've got that hard drive. I can have a look. So the two sets of documents I found were, I have 31 letters of appeal, or 31 letters sort of giving giving testimony to our relationship together, mine and Daryl's. Just to give the Home Office at the time, I mean, bear in mind, we lived majority of our life together in the UK, even though today we are living in Australia. So these letters go back to, where am I? Here we go. June 1998. And 31 people had to write letters supporting our application to remain together. Now, if you remember, 1997, the Tony Blair government won. So he won in 1997. 1998, June, is a year and 1 month after their election. If I remember rightly, I don't think things had changed quite at that point. So they were bringing in new laws to support same-sex marriage, de facto relationships, people like me with a partner from overseas. I mean, look, I couldn't have chosen a more difficult life, really, could I? God. Gay, partner from Australia, me British. It was going to be a fight from day one, and it's still a fight today for very, very different reasons. When I actually finally get my Australian passport, I guess we can give up the fight a little bit. Although we do hope to retire somewhere else, so we'll probably need that shed load of paperwork today with us. Good God. Anyway, so Home Office appeal letters from people like, at the time there was the Right Honourable John Denham MP, so he was the guy fighting for us as we made that journey together. And if you're in the same position today, I would always advise you to keep every single piece of paperwork. I really would, because without it, you are really, really in trouble. And as I said, even from when we went on holiday, from boarding passes, I know you don't really get boarding passes in the same way these days, but so we have boarding passes, receipts for all mundane items, shopping, Tesco shopping, Coles shopping over here, every single tiny receipt kept. And I do find myself, even today, scanning in receipts into my laptop and making sure they're all categorised and kept, because I've done it for 30 years. Nobody's going to take that away from me. I'm going to still do it. It still happens. It plays. Look, I've got OCD now because of it, and having to keep track of your life for so long, it's been mind-numbing at times. And as I said, this was done on an old Star Writer. This is before we even had a computer. There's some handwritten letters from my brother, God bless him, even though we don't talk these days. Friends in Australia, my aunts, my mother and father's MP at the time, the Right Honourable Sir Peter Lloyd MP. We had Edwina Currie, who was a minister in the Thatcher and John Major governments back in the day. So you can see how old all of this information is. My boss, my old boss, loads and loads of different people, as I said, uncles, aunts, mum, dads, you name it, friends. People were no longer with us. Paul Judd, Matthew Corbett, these people are no longer here. So their handwritten letters mean more to me now than they ever have done. There's one here from my god aunt as well, and my auntie Sue. So look, reading these letters is, it brings back a lot of memories. These are things I will never part with. These will always stay with me, for various different reasons. Maybe I've become a sentimental old man as I've got older, so they are going to stay with me. And then I found our old, what was the date? The 28th of February, 1998, a celebration of partnership. Myself and Daryl, we had a rite of blessing, and that was in a Quaker hall in Southampton. It was on London Road. I used to actually, quite a number of years after that, I was working in the same road, so I used to see that place all the time, and it was a lovely service, and it was carried out not by a Quaker but by a Church of England priest who we were friendly with at the time. And I just give you a taster. So at the beginning, the introduction, as he would say, is as follows. The minister introduces the celebration, saying, "In the presence of God, we have come together to celebrate the loving union which exists between Luke and Daryl. They have come to affirm and deepen their love and commitment to one another and to ask God's blessing as they offer their life together to Him. It is written that the greatest of all things, the most wonderful experience in the world is love. Luke and Daryl, into your lives has entered a deep and loving and lasting love, and you have asked us all here today to help you celebrate and affirm that love. Where there is love, there is God also, and as such, a holy union exists between you. Since the dawn of the earliest to the success of the greatest civilizations, some of us have shared the deepest expressions of love with someone of the same sex. All love is equal. The meaning of love, commitment, and honour does not change depending on the relationship affirmed. Many Christians have grown to recognise the validity of that special way of loving, and they work with others to overcome the prejudice which still exists in our society." This was written in 1998. There were no civil unions, there were no same-sex marriages, so the only thing we could have was a rite of blessing. This was a Christian ceremony, and it was a way of Daryl and I showing our commitment to each other surrounded by all our friends at the time. It's interesting because there's no, I don't think, I mean, look, I can put it up, but this was, I mean, once again, this was all done on an old Star Writer word processor. So this is before we even had a computer. But that was kind of a seating plan. And even when I look at the seating plan and the people there, it brings back so many names that I no longer hear from. I mean, look, a lot of them I do, and there's a lot also I wish to God I'd kept in contact with. But we all move on. Times change. It's difficult when you look back at such different times. With the advent of gay marriage and civil unions, the rite of blessing really became defunct. I mean, it was something you could still have, obviously. But for us, it wouldn't have been something that we would have considered in this day and age, because we have, we have been afforded the luxury now of being able to get married as the same-sex couple legally. This was not a legal document in any shape or form, but we were able to do something to show our love. Today, times are once again becoming difficult. When I look across the world, when you look at, certainly especially at the moment, the United States, and what that awful man, that President Trump, is trying to do to equal rights in that country, you can see everything that we fought for going backwards, and that is scary. We're in 2025. This Rite of Blessing was written in 1998. We had made so much progress as people, as human beings, as loving individuals, and now all of that is put in jeopardy. Russia itself has become a totalitarian regime once again, and all the rights that the gay community had gained in that country have been rolled backwards. And many countries across the world are doing the same thing. So when I'm looking at this, these documents from 1998, at a time where there were very little rights that existed in law for me or Daryl or people like us, I'm reminded that things can change so very, very quickly. And, although we have won, or we did win and have equal rights for many years, I can envisage a time where these rights are taken away. When people say to me, why do you still fight as a gay man? Why do you feel it's important? Well, I'm 54 years old. I lived at a time where it was illegal to have a relationship with another man until the age of 21, and it was perfectly legal for male and female at 16. I wrote for a newspaper about the reduction in the age of consent to equalise same-sex couples with heterosexual couples. I believe firmly that we are all equal in this world. Just because you've got more money than me, just because you're a different gender or sex to me, just because you have more rights than me, why should you have anything more than me? Why? It's a difficult subject, but it's something that I'm quite I think about all the time, and especially as I'm coming towards that 30th anniversary, and my own age, mortality, future comes into question. Because when people say to me, do you have regrets in life about what you've done? And I think, well, maybe I could have done things differently, but then I would not have had all the experiences I've had over the years. And without those experiences, I wouldn't have the memories, the stories to tell. I would not have the friends that I've made. I'm not a great success in life. The 30 years together have not been kind to Daryl or myself with regards to a fantastic career or a huge bank balance. But we have accrued a lot of memories, friends, documents, as you well know. But we've got a lot of baggage with us now, good and bad, and it's made us the people we are. This is going to be the first blog of our 30 years together, and there will be many more, sort of concentrating on different aspects of our life together. And this first one about paperwork, the most mundane part, is the very essence of who we are now. I've become a bit of a hoarder. I have things around me. I have OCD. I still collect stuff. Paperwork, yes, I still do it. I probably don't need to do it as much now, but I still feel that need. So that's changed me beyond all recognition. So the fact we've had to do it for so many years, 30 years, can you believe collecting every single receipt for 30 years? In my lounge in the front, my bureau is stuffed full of receipts every year that we've been here. And they're just growing daily. It's crazy. Anyway, thanks as ever for listening. Speak to you again next week. And all have a good one.